Good morning, and welcome to your daily Farm and Home Show, brought to you by the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service. And now, here's your host.
Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna, and this morning we're visiting with Andrea Stith. She's the Barren County Extension Agent for Horticulture. Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning, Joanna. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here today because everybody's dreaming of spring and that weather and the beautiful landscapes and gardens. But today you're going to tell us that flowers are not the only game in town.
Yeah, a lot of times we focus on the blooms. We're looking for the plant that has the pretty bloom, but we don't think about that bloom only lasts for a certain amount of time. So I like to incorporate a lot of the fantastic foliage, as I like to call it, in my garden. And a lot of people that have shade problems can use this to kind of combat that flowers maybe won't bloom because they can't get that full sun. So there's many opportunities for foliage in the garden. So the other thing I like to think about is color. A lot of the foliage we have, you think about it, you just think about green. You think about, evergreens, boxwoods, different things that are just going to be green in your landscape. But that's not all that's out there. Some of my favorite foliage plants are actually very colorful. And one of my favorites is probably the coleus. And people oftentimes do think of the coleus. And they have so many varieties now. Last year, I think I bought one that was like a rust color. And it was really pretty and had this like orange, dirty look to it in the garden. And that's not something you commonly see. So they're adapting more and more plants to grow for the foliage.
Now, are they pretty low maintenance, the coleuses?
The coleus are fairly low maintenance. A lot of people do like to go ahead and cut the bloom out of the top because it does get so scraggly. So that kind of also helps the energy go into making those foliage get a little bit fuller. So that's definitely, it's not as maintenance heavy as some plants you may get.
Right.
Some of the others that I like is the, I'm drawing a blank right now.
But hostas is probably the one that comes to mind.
That's the one a lot of people commonly think about. And so you go in, and when I moved into my rental house, there's like 50 different hostas all around, and they're different colors, different varieties. So the other one I like is the canna lily is one that you can put in. Yeah. It's really pretty. It has some wonderful blooms. And also you don't think about other ornamental plants. So like ornamental kale and ornamental cabbage can be put in to have that nice foliage look. And the one my mom loves the most right now is the black pearl ornamental pepper. So it has that purple foliage. Her and my favorite color are both purple. So putting that in there is just wonderful.
And sometimes purple in foliage is sometimes hard to come by.
It is. Purple and blue are really hard to find in foliage and flowers. So when you find them, people are just clinging to them. So oftentimes we think about the trees and things that we have for the foliage, but we don't think about our low underlying foliage. And some of the things that you can get are bulbs. So like elephant's ear is a great one, and they do have some purple of it now too. My mom got one about 2 years ago, I think it was, and she's still trying to keep it going. She digs it up every year and trying to protect it from the frost. So sometimes there are some that are going to require a little bit more maintenance like that, being dug up and being stored.
I was going to ask, because probably the hosta is the one I usually go to because it's low maintenance. It's relatively inexpensive, and you can get some really cool variegations and different things to incorporate in your garden. You mentioned cannas, and those will come back every year as well, right?
They usually do, as long as we don't get a super, super cool frost. A little late, because usually if it's late, then they've already started to come up and it can freeze them out. So that has actually happened, I think, 2 years in a row to some people. So they'll have already started to come up, and then they'll get a late frost like we had last year. I think it was in March or April. And so then that kind of created a little bit of an issue. So that's what you have to think about. The other ones that I kind of like is people don't think about is the Dusty Miller. Is a nice one. It's usually used in fall, but it's definitely something that adds a different color and texture, and that's something people don't think about. So ferns is another good one that adds a different texture, and there's many different types of ferns out there. Another one that I like to look at is the begonia. A lot of times we grow that one for the flower, but the foliage can be just as beautiful once that flower has expired. So deadheading things sometimes can be key to making that foliage the spotlight. So something else that I wanted to mention is the coral bells. Oftentimes we grow them for the flowers, but there are some varieties of plants. And so with it, the Palace purple is actually grown because it does have that purple foliage. So just thinking about learning a little bit more about your plants and discovering, is there some way I can use this in a different way than I've thought about before? Can I create a foliage garden that just has spotlights of flowers throughout?
Yeah, especially you mentioned there might be some hard to grow areas that you have.
Yes.
And some of these might work perfectly for that. But where do they find more information?
So you can go on the University of Kentucky's page. There are some flower pubs that are out there, and one of them that I love is actually the shade, and that's what I'm dealing with right now, is trying to find things for shade, and a lot of these foliage plants are in that
perfect for shade.
Yes, perfect
All right.
for shade.
Well, Andrea, thanks for the information. Hope you have some inspiration for some fabulous foliage. Thanks for watching and have a great day.
If you have questions about today's topic, please call the Warren County Extension Office at the number on your screen. Thanks for watching and have a great day.